Hi. United Nations climate experts are warning that urgent change is needed if the world is to remain inhabitable. The IPCC, which is the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, says carbon will have to be buried or put to new uses to meet emissions targets. We also need to abandon fossil fuels as a matter of urgency. This latest IPCC report has been commissioned by governments and made by scientists. The optimistic reading of the report might be as follows. First of all, the emissions are still rising, but more slowly than they were before. Secondly, 18 nations have reduced their emissions, which is impressive given our global reliance on fossil fuels. And third point, fast progress is being made in solar and in wind power in becoming cheaper. But nuclear power is still very expensive, which is notable given that nuclear power is a key part of the UK government energy planning. If we want to look at this more pessimistically though, we might take the view that we're on the right track, but actually we're not going anywhere near fast enough. It's all far too slow. And we're going to therefore need more drastic measures to stop us going past this tipping point, this danger point on climate change. The United Nations IPCC report is clear that the powerful nations have contributed very small amounts to this crisis. It's the HICs, the high-income countries, that are to blame. The report also highlights the need for increased use of carbon capture and storage, CCS, which is about catching the emissions from the chimney of a power station, scrubbing out the carbon using chemicals, and then injecting that carbon into rocks underground. There is an appreciation though that carbon capture and storage is not progressing very fast, and it can be quite problematic for a number of reasons. So DAC, which is direct air capture, is also seen as a key part of the solution. There are some plants in Iceland that suck the carbon out of the atmosphere with giant fans. This carbon dioxide is then liquefied and forced into the ground, where it reacts with other rocks and becomes a rock itself. This needs massively upscaling if it's going to be practical to make it work, and also needs to be made a lot cheaper. The United Nations Secretary General, Mr. Guterres, has suggested that high-income countries, HICs, are lying, essentially, about promising to cut their emissions but then really not following through. And that's pretty strong words from someone in his position. Ultimately, just to circle back to the main idea here, the report focuses on cutting emissions. We have to decarbonise, and also at the same time, now because it's become so serious, we've got kind of 8 years to consider this, also employing these carbon capture storage type technologies.